is Laura, and I will be going over today the different ways that culture plays a role into our classrooms and ways that we can get parents and the community more involved in our classes for our ELL students. So a student's culture can actually greatly affect how they act in class, how they learn, and just in general how they interact with others. It can affect the different decisions that they make and certain things that they might seem is acceptable in their culture but not to ours, or vice versa. Something that might be acceptable in our culture might be very odd for them. For example, if you have students that have recently come from some Asian countries, like Japan, for example, they actually have in their schools have a rule where they don't wear shoes indoors. They have lockers where they change it to slippers and they walk around there. Or like in that same culture, students are in charge of all the cleaning of the school. So when they come here and they're used to that type of environment, and they see that you do wear shoes indoors and that we have certain people whose jobs it is to clean, it can throw them off a little bit. It can make them feel kind of weird about it. And it's just things like that that can make them affect in the way they learn and affect the way how they interact with others. It's the same thing with some cultures when speaking with others, even among peers and friends. They're a lot more formal with their language, and there's certain things that they might find that for us that we say that's might not be quite as acceptable to them. So it could be hard to have some of those interactions with the other students. And that is also why, according to Lau and Shia, SEL and literacy development complement each other so much. SEL meaning social emotional learning, and they complement each other so much because emotional well-being is such a key component for education. ELLs can get a lot of anxiety or feel a lot of embarrassment when they're learning in class because they don't know the same amount of English, or they might not be able to speak as well as some of the other students. So it might affect the way that they learn because they're just not confident in doing it. So rather than struggling and maybe embarrassing themselves, they would just rather not try. So having that social emotional learning, building up their confidence, making them feel just better about how they learn, and knowing that they're not so different from everyone else will really help improve them on their learning and help them get more motivated and really just get there with the learning. And some strategies that you could use to get family and community engagement involved and just building partnerships is like through language diaries, where students can write a diary in their home language just about learning English and how they're doing and what they're getting at. And as they get more journal entries and diary entries in, they can actually start converting to writing more stuff in English, so that way they can have a book and they can see how much they progressed to try to build up that confidence. And then they can also bring in cultural artifacts and collaborate with families. So if you know there's a student with a certain culture, you can have them maybe bring in a certain artifact from their culture that they might want to share on and tell people about. You can collaborate with families and talk to them about like, oh, like I know you're from a different culture, like tell me about it. What's the best way I can help them? What's ways maybe I can involve that culture like into our classroom, teach other people about it, just to make them not feel so alone or separated from the students. Just collaborating with families and getting that information and having them educate other students about it. And you can also help with the communication part as far as including family and communities by using certain apps like the Remind app. It's not a lot of people use it, but not a lot of people know, so you can actually translate it into different languages, so that way student family can get more involved and actually being able to read and learn about the different minds we have sorted out. And then according to ELM-440, you can also involve them through mentorship roles, parent-school partnership events, outreach and community liaison roles, and parent-created learning sessions where the parents can maybe teach about the culture or teach about the language to the teachers in other communities. And you can also have yearly calendars just go over everything that's happening to keep that communication intact. And now we're going to be talking about inclusive school and classroom environment and how you can do that with involving the families and the community. One of them is about having a culture corner set up in the corner of the room, and it'll set up with different books and artifacts from different cultures where students can just learn about them. And you can actually invite families to add to this corner, make any donations if they like, either artifacts from their culture or books or even games that might be unique to them that they want to share and kind of teach the class with, or put it in the corner for the classes to learn about. You can also have like a culture project day in the classroom where students will be able to research their own projects with like either their own culture or another culture that they're interested in, and then share it with the class. So that way they can, if they are from different culture and want to share it, they can teach them about that and students can become interested in it. Or they can do research on another culture and just learn more about it and learn that while we might have different cultures, that's very interesting and it doesn't make us all that different. And then just also making sure for communication, just providing that communication in different languages, be able to at least be translated into other languages to help them. And then we also have, next we're going to segue into like the important role that family community practice have influencing language learning. So family and community really affect how students learn. They aren't just learning English in the classroom. If they can hear their family speak some or people in their community, they're going to start picking it up a lot faster, and having that encouragement from their family and community helping them with it makes them not feel so alone, so they can get there with it, and not just in the classroom but they're at home as well. And parents and community can actually play more roles by having bilingual newsletters to show them out what's happening around here, inviting families to school activities so they can see what their kids are learning, and then possibly help do that at home as well. Integrating school cultural traditions into the classroom, so that way they again can feel more inclusive, and that way the parents are playing that role to kind of help their kids not feel so alone and be able to learn the language. And then for the community, and also parents should also try to read to the child and student to build vocabulary, even if they don't know a whole lot of English. Either the student can read to the family, and that way they can help build it, and easy books in English, and kind of build it. A good way to learn is to teach, so that's a good way for them, or for parents to read to them to help build that vocabulary. And as far as the community can play actually a good role in helping with learning language, according to Hughes and a few other authors, that bringing in workers from the community can help. So either firefighters, artists, cooks, doctors, and it'd be best if that person is from a culture from some of the kids in your classroom, so they can relate to them, and just talk about like how their culture has affected them in their jobs and when they were in school, and just their different experience with it and different experience they have. So that way they could see that there is members in their community that were in the same spot that they were, and that they're still doing great and they were able to learn English. And it's just good ways to see how different cultures can come together, and students can learn about it and feel better about not being alone and just having that support. And also the parents know, and parents in the community can feel involved in the kids learning rather than just sending them off to school. They can feel involved in it and actually be able to help these students and help us get students to where they need to be and celebrate their different cultural differences.